is Keyed In with Max and Brent, unlocking the minds of the industry's top real estate professionals. And now, here are your hosts, Max Rabin and Brent Jackson.
Welcome to today's episode of Keyed In. I am your host, Brent Jackson.
And I am Lauren Davis, playing the part of Max Rabin.
Max is coming back soon. He is in Japan. So, Lauren, I haven't seen you in a while. I think it's been all summer. We've been on email chains and texts and phone calls, but I haven't seen you, I think, all summer.
I know. I was happy to see your face this morning. I just got back from a trip to Cape Cod with my mom, daughter, husband. Happy to report everyone's alive because we drove there and back. So that was a nice family road trip.
That is a good trip. And your daughter's doing okay? Because I think she had leg surgery.
She had ankle surgery. Yesterday was cleared with no restrictions. So we are coming in hot.
That's good to go. All right, well, won't waste any more time here. We're going to join with our guest, billion-dollar agent David Orso with Berkshire Hathaway. He is the number one agent and has been for the past decade in Arundel County. So, David, without any more anything else to that, I'd like to just kind of welcome you to the show and get some insights on what's going on with your business and welcome you to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I have listened to some of the episodes, and it's a great show. Thanks for what you're doing for our community.
Yeah, well, it's great to have some of our top leaders, and it's impressive that you sold $1 billion worth of real estate in Anne Arundel County. I mean, it's $1 billion is a lot of real estate to sell.
In 10 years.
In 10 years.
Yeah, it's been in the last 10 years. I've been in the business for 20 years. I got into the business as an investor. I was living in Baltimore City, buying rental properties, accumulated about 40 or 50 rental properties, and it enabled me to leave corporate America. At the time, I was working for the Marriott Corporation and using my base salary to apply for loans. And I also bought a lot of shells along the way and fixed them and renovated them. And in that journey, very candidly, as we talk about my real estate career, I think that we need to talk about some of the areas where I've fallen down. And I want to be the guest, by the way, I was thinking about this when I was driving here. I want to be the guest that tells you everywhere I've screwed up, not all my successes. You can find all those on my website. But let's be really honest about all the hardship that has led to success and advancement in my career. And it was about 2005, and I built an amazing portfolio, but a lot of that portfolio were rehabs, for lack of better words, I was going to flip.
Is that in Baltimore? In
Baltimore City. And my model was I wanted to rent to the student population. So there are 7 graduate schools right next to Camden Yards, if you've been to Baltimore through the University of Maryland system. And I just stumbled upon it. I took a girl on a date and walked in her house, and there's like 4 other girls there. I'm like, what's the deal here, Liz? She's like, well, we each pay $500. I'm like, what? And these are like $100,000 row homes. So, like I said, I made a strong move on the market, bought as many as I could, rented them out to the student population. But then I iterated and started buying properties that needed major renovation. And I was so immature in the business, I didn't realize real estate could go down. I thought I was Midas, that everything I touched turned to gold. And in that market collapse of late 05, 6, 7, 8, I lost everything, went completely broke. And what I learned in that, I had, at a certain point, you need to start dealing with local banks and syndicating, and you have investors. I worked my way through that. I negotiated my way through that, and I had a posture with the banks that I'll take it to zero, but I really don't want to bankrupt. I'm here to work it out. And there was not a line out the door. So the banks received my positioning to that proposition well. So we go through that, and it's so embarrassing when you lose all of your money and you're in your community, you're like a real estate guy, and you have to quit a country club, and you go through all of that. It's humiliating. And you lose your house, and you got to move in with your mom and all of that. But through that journey, my wife was like, go back to corporate America now. Like, get a job.
Were you married then?
I was married, and we had 1 child. And
you moved in with your parents?
Moved in with my mom, at that time. And we had to. We had no money. I mean, it was like $0 in the bank. So anybody listening, I can really, really empathize with that drowning feeling when you're at rock bottom. And I turned to my wife and I said, you know what I have found in this? I couldn't find a really great real estate agent. And when you're dealing with that much volume, you're going to interact with hundreds of real estate agents. Mm-hmm. And again, I started my career at the Coca-Cola Company, then went to Marriott, and I got my MBA along the way. So I was used to a C-level sales experience. And real estate agents just didn't match my expectation for a salesperson.
When you say C-level, you mean C-suite level? Like,
C-suite level,
yes.
corporate level,
Yes.
B2B, highly professional. And I said, I think I want to be a real estate agent. And my wife's like, are you kidding me? You get worse by the minute. It's like, I can't deal with this. I'm like, look, babe, if I can't win at this game, like, leave me. Like, don't walk, run. So that's when I launched my career as a real estate broker, as an agent.
So
producing.
in Anne Arundel at that time.
In Anne Arundel.
And who did you affiliate with there?
So by luck, first I opened a brokerage at Keller Williams Brokerage, and I partnered with a guy named Pat Hyben. And I don't know if you remember.
Pat Hyben.
Yeah.
Real estate rock stars.
Real estate rock star. So,
Yeah.
so I was on his podcast as well. So I had the event. Pat was the #1 agent in RE/MAX worldwide, and then he switched and went to Keller Williams. And his play was going to be to open offices and own market centers. So at the time, they were selling about 1,000 homes a year. So I had and I was the manager of the office. So I had a 2.5, 3-year paid internship to watch the #1 agent in the country perform at a really high level and run a team. And then I said, and the office was not making any money, candidly. It was just not producing. And I said, gosh, I want to do that. Like, I want to do that. So Pat was my first mentor in this business. And to this day, I'm so grateful and thankful for that experience. And I left management and became an agent. So
That's a great story. And so you were with Keller Williams for how long?
3 years
3 years.
as the manager. And then I left, and that office was in a north part of Anne Arundel County that is not my natural marketplace. I left and was recruited by Century 21 to a downtown Annapolis office where I worked for, call it 10 years.
10 years. And
Yes.
then you jumped ship to Berkshire.
I actually jumped ship to Compass. Compass was trying to make a play in the Annapolis market out of DC, and I thought that they were going to be stronger on their entry, and they wanted a player in that market. So they had a highly incentivized package that I took for 3 years. At the end of that 3-year commitment, they just weren't growing into the Annapolis marketplace, candidly.
Right.
And I wanted to align with somebody that was more stable in Annapolis. So Berkshire has stability in our county.
Yeah, I feel like Berkshire is not as big of a thing here, so it's definitely market dependent. And I know one thing that you have that's unique is you own your building.
Yeah.
So how long have you owned that space?
8 years.
Okay.
So I got to a point with my team where a couple things happened. Number one, I wanted to build my own culture. So when you're in a brokerage with a bunch of real estate agents, there's a lot of gossip around the copier about, can you believe this home inspection report? And and I wanted to purge our team or insulate our team of that. Number two, I wanted to make a real estate investment. And number three, I wanted to go deeper in the community. And I felt like I could do that as an owner of my property. And it unequivocally has been a spectacular investment. And I believe in real estate. I mean, that's what we're selling.
And you have signage, right?
And I do have
I've seen-
signage.
right.
So on the outside of the building is a sign. So we do get those impressions every single day. And we get walk-up business. So
Yeah.
and our clients come to the office. And they're greeted to a warm environment that I've had, curated with a wonderful local designer. It's just a really elite client experience.
And what is the composition of the team at this time?
Yep. So that has changed over the years. And fundamentally, I've wanted to stay in relationship with my clients. So I have a small team. And one of the things I think I do, and I'll get to the answer to this question, but I track units more than I track total dollar volume sold. And I appreciate the introduction about selling $1 billion. But I really track units. And one of the main reasons why I track units is because it's a staffing mechanism. So as my volume has grown from 50 to 100 transactions to 150 transactions, it requires a different staffing
Absolutely.
org chart. Second reason is I want to create thousands of raving fans. So I'm much more focused on how many clients we have than how many dollars we sell. So that's one difference. Currently, I have 3 administrative staff operations. They're on salary, for lack of better terms.
And how do you divide the tasks amongst the 3?
Yep. So one is buyer focused. So one is managing our buyer pipeline and ensuring that our buyer clients We know where they are. We are identifying properties for them. We are proactively putting strategies together to mail neighborhoods in an environment where inventory is deplete. I wanted to deploy resources to find properties for our buyers. So Lauren heads up our buyer division. We have one agent that works under her, Megan. So I have one team agent and 3 operations. And then I have Jess. Jess heads up listing coordination. So when I get a listing agreement signed, I turn it into Jess, and Jess has a 41-item checklist that she implements immediately to make sure the seller has a great experience. Those two also work closely together, so we're cross-referencing to see if our sellers are a match for our buyers are a match for our sellers. And then a transaction coordinator who's also my EA, Stacy. And then I have a part-time employee, my wife, who manages the marketing. And that's been a turbulent relationship. She loves telling the story that one time I fired her, one time she quit, and she's back now for round 3. But really, she's the glue of our office. And, nobody's going to look out for your interests as much as your spouse. So she has a very successful background in human resources. So I'd be remiss not to mention what a key player she is to our team.
So does she come into the office when she's when she's working, or is she working from home, or how do you guys work
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I prefer when she comes into the office, to be honest with you. I like that interaction. I like that collaboration.
Right.
I recently had an amazing executive assistant who moved to Arlington, and she wanted to work 1 day a week, and it just didn't work. We tried it for 90 days, and I'm an in-office guy. And I was heartbroken to lose her because she's so incredibly talented. But COVID sort of forced that issue. And I see a lot of real estate agents trying to do part-time work. And I know there's a lot of talent working from home. From my experience, it's just too important to be in the office working together, hearing conversations.
I have the same philosophy.
Yeah.
We're the same way. I think we've let a few people go just because for us, like Rob and I are in the office all day, every day. And like, even if we're not there, we need to have our team comes through and it's like, where is person A, B, and C? So we have our agents to answer to as well.
Yep.
So if people can't be in the office, 8 hours a day, that's fine. But we're not going to be there to check the box and make sure they're there. But if we hear secondhand, we'll let them know. We'll give them a warning because they need to be in the office because I think it's too many distractions out there. Next thing you know, you're walking the dog, you're getting coffee, you run into a friend down the street, and then that person's not taking care of your listing or your buyer or your transaction.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Digging a little deeper, so you have a staffing chart. You mentioned you bring on more people when you hit certain milestones. Is there 100, 150, 200? Like when do you bring on someone else?
Yeah, so I have found that at about that 50 to 60 unit mark, you need to add somebody. So if you're an agent that is selling 35 homes right now, you should be able to do that on your own. You should be refining your systems, working toward at least 3 steady closings every single month. Call it 4 a month is 48, close to 50. Then you hire somebody. When you get to 100, then you got to hire another person, probably to support or offload some of the work that Assistant A was doing.
Right.
I don't think agents realize how much they can do without hiring more agents. But I do think there's a fear of payroll. And agents notoriously don't have an appropriately funded operating account. They're not saving money to take that leap and hire, which then puts them back out in front of the client for high-value activity.
So right out of the gate, you were with a team. When did you hire your first person? Like as soon as you started your team, or did you do the 50 transactions and then hire someone?
I did call it 40 to 50 transactions on my own and then hired somebody. And she was a classic assistant. She did transaction work. She did the listing work. And then my business, what I found is my business typically jumps. It goes through it's almost looks like a staircase. It goes flat for 2 years and then jumps and then it's flat and then jumps. It is not a perfect curvature where I'm growing by 10% every year. Naturally, you have some market inflection there too. The last couple of years has been spectacular. So we've seen extraordinary growth across the market. But at about 50 or 60 transactions, there needs to be one body for that. At 100, you need to have 2 full-time assistants. At this point, I'm personally handling about 90 to 100 transactions. My team is handling about 50 of the Megan is handling about 50 of the transactions.
To get you to 150.
We're at about 150 units sold per year Correct.
How many do you guys sell?
We're anywhere from 150 to 200.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's a machine on the back end. It's just like we
Yep.
turn and burn through transactions on a regular basis. And I think we have 4 or 5 admin on the back end, listing coordinator,
Yep.
2 marketing people, operations guy, and then we have a new vendor we just started with that does our transaction coordination.
Yep.
And we have a dedicated person that's only for our team, which works out beautifully.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it's a value proposition to anybody thinking about joining the team. I'm incredibly protective of adding agents to my team. I'm not the guy that just adds tons of agents and is an imposter for a broker. That's what I think a lot of these large teams are. They're just broker imposters. So with only one agent, I need to deliver value to her. And the value that I deliver to her is transaction support, training, and operational efficiencies.
I think it's a huge value.
No doubt.
How long has she been with you?
6 years.
Okay.
Yep.
You only have one agent on your team?
Only one agent.
Wow, that's impressive.
So Megan and I are producing those 150 transactions.
That's really impressive.
Yeah, thank you.
What-
It's high profit. So I think when you go through, what I would say is when you go through any type of hardship, a financial hardship, you become incredibly aware of a P&L. And I was a bright guy. I was a business guy anyway and well-trained. And I never could understand how real estate agents could get on this roller coaster. And you do the job and you quickly understand. But I have, I'm running at about a 55, 60% margin on my gross commission income. And I can't imagine doing this job for less money. I mean, I don't understand how people do it. And I don't think our community does a great job with financial literacy for agents, you know, and are most agents saving 10% of their gross commission income? Doubtful. And it's mandatory. It just has to happen.
Yeah, I think you're smart. I mean, you know off the top of your head, 55 to 60% your profit margin. I bet if we asked 99% of the agents in our industry, they don't have a clue on what their profit margin is.
And that's a shame. And that's a shame. And we are all entrepreneurs. We are business owners, and we have responsibility to our families. And I just can't imagine operating in the dark or being that nervous about the next paycheck and or making decisions without data. I can't imagine that. So,
Shifting gears a little bit, we are here with David Orso with Berkshire Hathaway, the billion-dollar agent. Diving into the market, you mentioned marketing. You mentioned one of your assistants is responsible for, I want to say, like fishing for leads, letters, cold calling, door knocking. Like, what is this person doing? Because we're doing the same thing in our marketplace, and we are getting a lot of the backlash. Like, is this real? Is this a scam? We get the calls saying, take us off the list.
Yep.
You deal with that, but you do get a few of those needles in the haystack.
yes, we're very specific. We're very honest about it. So there is no farming in my business. I'm not blanket farming. I'm very specific. I'm representing a family. They have 2 children. Their budget is this. They must have 4 bedrooms. The letter is very specific. And it closes with, I am representing the buyer. So I make an agency disclosure in the letter that I'm representing the buyer. This is not a solicitation for your listing. And I think it gets a good response because it is so very honest and so very clear.
Transparent, yeah.
Yeah, if they need a 4-bedroom house, I'm not interested in talking to somebody who has a 3-bedroom house. It's not a good use of my time. It's not a good value to the client. But we have to go out and hunt, and that's on the buyer side. So you're mentioning what are some of the activities that Lauren is doing. And then, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I go on 20 or 30 listing appointments a month. And
I wish I did.
About,
I do and I don't.
Right.
about half
Sure.
of those, 40 to 50% of those list, which means 50 to 60% of them are pocket listings, so to speak, or they're shadow listings. So we are constantly communicating with them about buyers that are coming in the fold. And I'm so deep I'm so deep in my local market. I'm not stretched thin. I really don't drive more than 10 minutes to any appointment. So we've got a matchmaking situation that is occurring that is a major value to our clients. So if I'm going to work for you as a buyer representative, it's a relationship. And I'm not just interested to know what your budget is and what you're looking for. And like we sign buyer agency and you become a client. And that's how we operate. I'm going to work my butt off for you.
That's interesting. A lot of agents, we were talking before the show, like when I first got my license, I was in Virginia and I got my license and I'm like, oh, I can go all over the DMV and anywhere inside the Beltway. But I think over time, agents are kind of really hone in on their niche, whatever that is. It could be new construction, waterfront, upper Northwest or Bethesda or whatnot, how long did it take you to kind of like hone in on like you're not driving any more than like 10 minutes outside of your geographical farm?
In part, you mentioned I purchased a building. When I went through that exercise, I labored on it because I thought about buying in downtown Annapolis, which you guys are probably familiar with. And there's a major river that separates downtown Annapolis from Severna Park, where I'm by far the top agent in Severna Park. And I was looking at this property, but I had concern, and I had like a marketing dilemma, which was the marketplace in Annapolis is significantly bigger. There's bigger sales, there's more volume. So I was thinking, maybe I'd leave my base and try to grow my business into the Annapolis marketplace and buy down there, or should I be loyal to my base and stay there? So I called a financial individual that I really like and trust, and I said, hey, Charlie, what do you think? And he said, what's best for your time? I said, that's a great, I didn't even consider it. And like, I'm a real estate guy. Like I was, and I think I'm an efficient guy. I'm good with systems. But that question has always stuck with me. He asked, in the context of buying a commercial building, what's best for your time? And I went deeper with him on the conversation. He's like, hey, time is what we're selling. Get very clear about that, David. Time is what we're selling. It is your experience, which leads to your knowledge, which leads to your counsel. And if you're not getting paid respectively for that in the way of your time, then you've totally missed the boat. So buy the building that is best for your time. And the one in Severna Park was best for my time. And that's where I get a lot of Annapolis business, no doubt, but that's only 10 minutes from my office building. But it was a time play. It was very much a time play, and that was the consideration.
Yeah. I was looking at your home snap this morning, and it's impressive. Again, like the top agents, they have their niche. And I think you had like maybe one or two that was like kind of far out, like maybe like probably 30 minutes or more. But it's like everything else is like just hyper local with where you're located.
Yes. I'm very deep in 3 or 4 zip codes and number one agent in those zip codes. And I'm not interested. And I refer a tremendous amount of business out. And I'm happy to get that 25% referral check. And I also think it's better for my clients. And I frame it to my clients this way. Like if they call and they say, hey, look, we're looking to buy in Severna Park, or we're looking to buy in Annapolis, but our home is in Columbia. I say, here's my test for whether or not I should sell your house. If I was blindfolded and parachuted into your front yard, I should know the elementary school. I should know the school. I should know the middle school. I should know the matriculation to the high school. And I don't have any idea. Based on the address you just gave me, I have no idea. And that is the value proposition for the purchaser. So I don't think I'm your best representative. And when you're that honest with somebody, they're like, cool, who do you recommend? And I'm like, I got a guy.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree with that philosophy. I always say if I have to pull out a map to get to your house, I'm not your girl. Like if I don't know where it is, like there's not a street in Bethesda I don't know. And if I don't, if I need a map, I'm probably not it.
Yeah, and it is our point of difference.
Yeah.
So everybody can see what they can on Zillow and Redfin and so forth, but they haven't been in the homes. And I've been in every single one of the homes that I'm presenting as comparable sales. And if I haven't been in those homes, I feel like, man, I don't know if there's geographic competence issues here, right? So you look at my home snap, and if the client looks at it, and I feel this way when I see DC agents coming to Annapolis, candidly, I'm like, you lack the geographic competence to properly represent a waterfront property. And you shouldn't be learning and training on the client, is my strong opinion of the matter, right? So just partner with me if you want to learn, or somebody from your firm.
I totally agree with that.
What are some of the systems that you all use to keep that number of transactions organized?
So we save everything in Google Drive. And I want to go to the CRM conversation. I've listened to some of the episodes. I know CRM is a hot topic in our industry. We are currently building a CRM, a custom CRM with Salesforce as the chassis for that system. It's an incredible heavy lift. I would say that is not something that any practitioner that has less than 200 grand of free capital should even be talking about. But the problem with CRM is usually the systems are good at one thing and then they lack on something else. So we have found, like we did RealVolve. RealVolve was exceptional at transaction management. And then we had Top Producer. Top Producer was exceptional at lead management. We had Follow-Up Boss. Follow-Up Boss was outstanding at follow-up systems. So I'm not sure there is a CRM that I haven't tried and I couldn't compliment on one thing, but they're not comprehensive. And your CRM needs to really accomplish 3 things. It needs to be a Rolodex, it needs to be a lead follow-up system, and it needs to manage your transactions.
So that's what your Salesforce platform will do. All
Correct.
three.
Yeah. So I'm integrating the assistant that I mentioned that moved to Arlington, built an amazing spreadsheet that we were able to, in one look, see our pipeline of transactions, like what was coming up, what was active, what had closed, whatever. So I like a single view. We're working on that through their system currently. So we're taking that spreadsheet, we're taking Google Drive storage systems and how we name things and so on and so forth. And then we have checklists for every transaction or every upcoming listing, which I think most agents do, and integrating that with the ability to assign tasks to other team members.
So when you build that, can I buy one?
Totally, yeah. But I'm
think-
realizing why there isn't a really great CRM. It's so expensive. And how many players, honestly, how many players are at our level? And how many players are going to be disciplined to do it, to log in every morning and follow the system? It's not a good business. I thought about it, Lauren. I was like, I'm going to build the greatest CRM in the world. This is going to change the world.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Yeah.
It's not, because it's $200 a month, and to monetize it,
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
You threw out a number. I mean, I don't know if that was like just a fictitious number or not, but like 200,000. Are you spending 200,000 on your CRM?
Yes.
To build it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's that much in context of my top line revenue and the fact that my database and my clients they're everything.
Right. It's worth it. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's worth it. I fundamentally believe that in these conversations, agents are always chasing business when they could grow 10 or 20% with better lead follow-up.
Staying with your current.
You've got 10 to 20% growth in your business just by being a better practitioner and database manager. So I need that tool. That is the next gen of my business. So it is a major investment, no doubt. I'm not saying it's a small amount of money, but it is an absolute high value item for us.
Yeah. I mean, I learned early on in financial planning, and I think it's rung true across the board, even like when I was in pharmaceutical sales, is that 80% of your business comes from the top 20% of your business.
Yep.
So like if you think about that, like diving deeper into your client database, if you do that on a regular basis with client events, parties, happy hour, whatever, you're going to get more business or referrals from those people.
No doubt. And that was a major decision for me to move to Berkshire. So Berkshire is my partner in this deal. They're supplying the developers for it. They launched it with the number one agent in Texas named Russell Rhodes. So I flew down there in my decision-making process to change brokerages, met with Russell, reviewed the system, and now we're using a lot of those systems to implement ours. And it is not proprietary to Berkshire, so that was also an important thing. I see brokerages building CRMs, which is a business strategy to make the agent sticky, and I was not interested in that.
Well, this sort of leads to a different path, but it sounds to me like you're well prepared if you were to want to sell your business at some point in time, like once that system's in place, like, for a retirement tool, you would have all the data and all the information hopefully updated and correct.
And I wrestle with that, Lauren. I've never seen somebody really sell their business.
It's tough.
Really sell it. And a true business sale, and I would love to hear you guys have somebody on here that can talk about a true business sale with a multiplier and a legitimate exit, not an exit that's a referral program. And there's some fundamental issues with our business that don't make it very saleable, right? We're the product typically. Our institutional knowledge matters. So if we're not there, is the client that you've had a relationship going to trust the new person? We don't have a recurring stream of revenue. We have receivables that are 30 to 60 days. So I wouldn't buy somebody's business. I was approached by a large group in our county about a year ago, went down that path and came to the conclusion that I would be better off investing in the space that you play in to get that space than buying your business. And, you got to walk in a buyer's shoes to understand the saleability of anything. And so with all due respect to my systems, I would just rather groom somebody and have an agreement, like a referral agreement. I try very hard with my clients to present as a solution and as a system and not as a person, right? And that's one of the transitions that I think a lot of agents need to go through, that it isn't Dave and his personality and what a good guy and we play golf. It's Dave, the practitioner, the system that gets optimal results.
Well, maybe one of your daughters will take it over.
Yeah. You never know.
You never know.
So
It happens.
I have a 14-year-old daughter who today is her first day of high school soccer. So it's an exciting shout out to Mia. And I have a 17-year-old daughter, Olivia, and I have a 22-year-old son, Max.
Yep.
So that's my
One of them.
That's my family.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Never
Have
know.
any of them expressed interest, especially like the 22-year-old?
No, he's doing IT staffing right now, and it's a great job. It's a smile and dial job. So he's down in Tampa, loves Florida. I don't think he's a match for the business. I'm not sure, Lauren, you're a perfect example. I think maybe he is. I don't know. But I think you fly away, and then maybe you come home and realize, I want to be a part of this community. And that's what I would have to offer is like, if you really want to go deep in this community, if you really want to be, I hate the word influencer, but if you really want to be somebody that's making a difference, this is the place to do it. You know.
I think that your kids should go do something else and have that
Yes.
experience and come back and really want to do it. I think it would be key for that too.
Yeah, maybe I'll fire them and then they'll quit. And it'll be
No,
like,
let's hope not.
it'll be like the relationship with my wife.
Yeah, no, let's hope not.
Yeah.
So you're really big into community. So I mean, can you dive deeper into like some of the things you're doing for the community, some
Sure.
things that keep clients coming back, like why you're the greatest? I was on your website earlier this morning. I stumbled across it was Orso's VIP, which I thought was very interesting with
Yep.
trucks and client or birthdays for life, things like that. I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, so I've been doing this for 20 years, and I view my clients, I would like to eradicate something in our business immediately, which is the term past client. If we could just dispose of that forever, I think the real estate business would benefit. Stop calling them past clients, start calling them clients. You bought a house from me 10 years ago, you're still my client. I still feel like I'm your fiduciary, and I'm going to tell you what the value of your home is, and I'm there for you if you need a siding guy or roofing guy. So it starts with a mindset that I've got about 2,000 clients, and those clients are mine, like a financial planner. Those are my clients, and I try to stay in touch with them, and I try to love on them, and I want them to feel like they're also a part of something. So we do client quarter giveaways for a client that purchased for the quarter and then someone that referred. We do a shredding event at our office. We do charity we collect Halloween costumes and give it to a shelter, a women's shelter, so that their kids can have a wonderful Halloween. I gotta give credit to my wife. Like, she is the best in the world at connecting through our community. So we have an annual marketing calendar. It's one page and almost looks like a bingo chart, and we're just crossing off activities, and we're plugging our clients into the community too. So I've always felt like real estate is simply my vehicle to connect lots of people to this community that I love and that I was born and raised in. So every month we're doing something. Every single month we're doing something that not only is a reach to our clients, but is a reach to our community. And hopefully it's a bridge between those two as well.
Do you have one event that's like your go-to event, the one that's the best turnout, the best ROI on your dollar?
Yeah. So usually we used to do a Pictures with Santa event, and it was a holiday event. We'd bring in a Santa. As I've gotten older and as my data...
You mean bring in Santa,
yeah.
not a Santa.
Right.
Bring in the Santa. And we would do Pictures with Santa. But as I've gotten older, I've grown up with my database. It wasn't as appropriate. My database didn't have as many young kids, or it was a smaller percentage. This year we did a 20-year anniversary party, a very nice holiday party, and it was outstanding. It was well attended. It was at an amazing place in Annapolis, and I think people liked having a night out. The other things are of value, like a dumpster day or a shredded event. They're of value, but it's kind of a hit and run. They come, they drop their stuff off. We don't get a chance to have a drink together. So the holiday party has been, I would just thematically call it a holiday party.
So can I tell a story about a time that I was really mad at David?
Yes. Let's hear the story.
Okay. So about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, I was like scrolling through Facebook, and I see David post that he's just finished his treatment for cancer. As you can imagine, I was a little shocked. I didn't even know he had cancer. So I called him up and I said, I can't believe that you didn't reach out to me and tell me this was going on. Exactly. It was about me. Me. No, I wanted to be there for him and be a friend to him through this journey. But he basically, I'll let him explain that. But I quickly got on his case, and then we met for lunch in Annapolis and we became friends again. But I think that your experience having gone through cancer has changed your life perspective. I also think at the time, and I don't know if it's still true, you were also looking at that time about the structure of your team and how they covered for you when you were unable to be out on appointments, and then sort of what did that look like going forward. So maybe just back up to, if you're willing to, about that journey and how you discovered that you had cancer and what was involved in that.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing it up. It's a tough conversation. I did handle it very privately, so no offense to you, Lauren. Yeah. I'll just tell you the whole story. And we're here today to talk about business, but we're all entrepreneurs and individuals running a business. So middle of 2020, late 2020, I found a mass in my neck, and it was not like a small P. It was like a mass. It was like something was there. Called my doctor. Doctor said, I don't like it. Sent me to an ENT. ENT's like, I definitely don't like this. We got to get that out of there. Go in for surgery. And it was supposed to be a simple surgery. It turned into a little bit more than a simple surgery. And it was a potato-sized tumor that was a lymph node that had gone totally radical. They sent it to Johns Hopkins. And I got a call a week later. And the doctor called me and said, hey, I have bad news. And it's cancer, and he said these words to me, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. He said, you need to get your affairs in order. Ugh. And I called my wife, and I'll probably get emotional, and I'll definitely get emotional. So called my wife and said, hey, like, things are not good. Like, this is bad. So we cried, and like I said, hey, before I get home, I want to call our pastor, who I'm very close with. And so I called him, and I just said, hey, man, here's what's happened. And I just want to know that whatever happens, that God will be with me and that he'll protect my children. And he stopped me and he said, there's no doubt about that, David. There's no doubt about that. Don't even worry about that. And I know you well enough to know that you've been called to lead your family. And I don't know why those words have stuck with me. And if there's like a theme song or there's a moment in my life that everything changed, it was when he said, you've been called to lead your family. Because I went from victim to victor instantly. And I knew in that moment, like, all right, we're in for a hell of a fight. Mm-hmm. And my kids are going to be looking at me to set the tone. The leader's going to set the tone. So we didn't know totally what was going on at that time. So I went home. We didn't announce it that night. We told the kids the next day. And the irony of this story, and I don't know if you know this about me, Lauren, my wife's a breast cancer survivor. So 8 years prior, she had a battle with breast cancer. So it was very interesting in our relationship for the patient to become the caretaker and the caretaker to become the patient. So I walked through that season, which was pure darkness. And I tried my best to be a leader to my family. I tried to be positive. And you're getting the living shit kicked out of you with, I had radiation and chemo, I had 35 rounds of radiation, chemotherapy, the whole bit. And so I didn't know how to announce it. I really didn't. And I felt this, and I hope anybody listening knows this could happen to you. Mm-hmm. This could be you. And I felt this intense pressure to put it out there. And I called my attorney and we were talking about different things. And I said, hey, last thing, Ann, how should I announce this? And she said, your health is nobody's business. And I thought, she's so right. Mm-hmm. So I elected not to announce it, which is why you saw, and my announcement was going to be when I ring that fucking bell.
And I was happy to see it.
At the oncology center.
Yeah.
I wanted to just like break that bell. Like that was like, I'm going to the finish line. And that's why I didn't announce it. I didn't see any reason. And my doctor, my oncologist at the time said, how are you going to manage your business? And I know we know each other. He's like, I know you're like a total workaholic. You're all in on this thing. And he said, you're going to fight for your life. You're going to fight for your life. You got to give this 100%, not 99, not checking emails. I need 100% from you. And there's times in your life where you're like, 99 is good enough. 98 is really good. 100's a different level commitment. So I just shut it down. And for the business, I was so blessed to have an amazing, supportive, talented team that had it, carried for at least a 6-month period where I was really unable to perform. And then what happens, that chemotherapy, that radiation stays in you for like a year. And for anybody out there that has been through this journey, you're just lethargic for like a year and you can't, you're in this fog, and they call it a chemo fog. So I have so much gratitude to my team for carrying me through that. I think in context of this business, I'm a saver. Like, I had saved money. I wasn't concerned financially. I had long-term disability care. I don't know how many agents have long-term disability insurance. It's something our brokers probably don't talk to us about. Having gone through financial hardship, I saved my face off. So like, I could not work for years and be fine, which made it okay to be 100% focused on my healthcare. And then I came back to the business, and so that's generally the story.
I mean, it's an amazing journey, and obviously you're here today and healthy, and thank God for that. Do you feel like there's a lesson in there in the sense that you were, I mean, now it's in retrospect, but is there something that agents can do in general to prepare sort of for this rainy day situation? Meaning, like, do you have a team like you had a team that could pick up the slack at that point in time? Is there any, like, big thing that sticks out? Like, thank God this person did X or knew Y. Is it like that?
Yes. I think that it's a fine line. Like we were talking about, a lot of individual practitioners stay individual because they care about the margin, or they're afraid to have payroll. But I would say, if you had a training exercise that said, today you got that call that Dave got, Dr. Meek called you in Crownsville, Maryland, and said you need to get your affairs in order. What does your life look like? Like, really seriously, like, let's roll through this drill. Just like any emergency response team, like, let's roll through it. And I had really, really well-trained, loyal team members that carried. I mean, obviously I had a supportive family, I have an incredible wife, great kids, but on the business side, we were more ready than I thought. They were more ready than I thought.
That's great.
Which was a growth moment for me to let go, right? Like, everything was fine. We still got listings. I would drive through, I'd be coming home from University of Maryland Hospital, and I'd see a sign, one of my signs, and be like, that's unbelievable. Like, we got a listing? Like, that's so cool.
That's awesome.
It's an amazing moment. So I hope now I'm able to let go a little bit and trust my team more, because they are amazing and they are phenomenal at what they do, and they do follow a system, and they're deeply committed to my standard of excellence.
And I guess that makes that going away for 2 weeks and leaving the business or leaving your phone behind a little bit easier now, right?
Yeah. So that's a different thing that I do, but wholly rooted in what I went through. When you go through a life crisis where you realize your mortality, and you realize, like, oh my God, like, time is of the essence. I became obsessed with my time. Obsessed. And I can't say it enough. I am obsessed with my time. And I'm obsessed with not being interrupted and being where my 2 feet are. And it's an incredibly difficult thing for a real estate agent that lives on distraction, right? And you have to, I mean, your value, I'm available to you 24/7. So the first time we went to Italy for a family trip, and my wife asked that I leave my phone at home. And I was like, full cardiac arrest. It was like, oh my God, what's happening? But she was right. I needed to be there with the family. She was 1,000% right. So what I did is I left, I'll go deep on the story. I left my phone at the office. So I had no access to email, no access to text, no access to phone. And I asked one thing, just please keep a record of when the calls came in, and then we categorized what type of call it was. Was it a lead? We broke 3 categories: a lead, a transaction, or something else, like, do you want to play golf, Dave, or one of my buddies? I'll ask you guys, what % of the business do you think, it was a 2-week time period, what % of the business do you think was leads? What % of the inflow was transactions? And what % was personal stuff?
What month was it?
It was June.
50% personal.
I'd say 50% personal too. Maybe 10% leads and 30 or 40%, whatever the math
Transaction.
It was
40%.
10, 80, 10. 80% was transaction related.
Yeah.
And how much transaction work do you really have to do? If you have the right TC, like it's more of a service call. Hey, just want to let you know we're on track. Everything is great. Maybe you got to jump in when there's a serious fire to stomp that out. 95% of transaction work is handled by a transaction coordinator. So immediately when I came home and reviewed the results and the data, and I'm an analytic, I realized, oh my God, like, how can I cry busy? How can I, when I have an amazing team that handles shit, right? Leads is where your time needs to be spent. That was 10% of the inflow, whether it was, and again, this was a cumulative email, phone, text. Top agents should be interfacing immediately with leads. Immediately. That needs to be where you're at. 80% needs to be over. And that 10% of friend stuff, that can happen at 5. That just doesn't need your attention during the day. Not if you're a focused professional. And I think the cancer journey, Lauren, like I became obsessed with time and I became obsessed with getting the most out of my time. And I think a lot of people have thought like, oh, I would be like, oh, I'm only going to work 20 hours a week. No, total bullshit. I want to kill. Like I want wherever I am, like on this podcast today, I want to change somebody's life. Like I want somebody listening to be like, oh my God, like I want to be that guy. I want to go to the next level. Like I want to be so passionate with wherever I am in that moment. So when I go to work, I want to fucking kill. Like I want to murder it. There's a huge opportunity, there's a huge marketplace out there. I want to get the very most out of it. And it's an obligation to myself. It's an obligation to my family. It's an obligation to my team. And I'm not cutting back. I'm giving it 50, 60 hours. And when I'm with my wife, same deal. I want to go deep in that relationship. When I'm with my kids, I want to go deeper in that relationship in that moment. And it's been like, and I just would say to whoever's listening, like in your darkest seasons, just know that the brightest light is about to follow. And I'm not trying to be cliche, but it always freaking happens. And it's like God was sending me to boot camp, like just to train on, if you're going to be one of my financial soldiers and I'm going to entrust you with millions of dollars a year, I want to know that you have the humility to deal with being broke. You know, if you're going to be a husband that makes a difference, I want you to feel what it's like to potentially lose your wife. If you're going to be a father and a leader in this community, I want you to know what the fragility of life and the just how, and it's so cliche, but every day is a freaking gift.
It is.
I want everything out of it. I want everything out of it.
So what was the lesson that you were being taught on your first day of radiation?
You know this story.
Like this one.
So I'm up at University of Maryland Hospital, and that's where I did my radiation. And I walk into a room, and there's like a table there, which is like an MRI machine table, and they're going to slide you back into it. And there's like a 25-year-old nurse who's so cute, and she's so nice, and she's like, all right, go ahead, get undressed. And I'm like, all right, this is weird. Like, so I'm like, all right. So, and then there's like a glass wall that she sits behind during this thing. So I get undressed. I'm in a hospital. So I'm like, I get totally naked and climb up on the table, and like, it's a 48-minute treatment. We do the treatment. And then I go back the next day, and Dana's there again, the same girl. And she's like, all right, go ahead, get undressed. So I do. I get naked. I'm like, this is so uncomfortable. But like, your mind's kind of not, you're like, whatever, we're in a hospital. So the third day, there's a new person. So the new girl is like, all right, hey, nice to meet you, whatever. Dana told me, whatever. And I'm like, shit, go ahead, get undressed. So I start to like take my pants down, and she's like, whoa, what are you doing?
Oh, wow.
I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, you only need to take your shirt off. So I see the Dana like 2 or 3 days later in the hospital. I'm like, yo. I'm like, you didn't tell me I only take my shirt off. She's like, I just thought you were like a weirdo or something.
Oh, my God.
So from that point forward, like
Yes.
I became
Oh, wow.
very, very close with the nurses in training room or in radiation room 4.
Yes.
So
So what was the lesson there?
maybe ask one more question for understanding.
One question deeper. David, that's an amazing story. It truly is, and it's very inspirational. I mean, sitting here, I can feel your passion and your journey through that. I lost my mom to cancer.
I'm sorry.
I've got a history of stuff as well, but I mean, it's just to hear your passion come through. I mean, I can feel it and I can hear it. I mean, it's an amazing journey. So
Thank you.
I'm
I'm
glad
sorry
you
for your
joined us
loss.
in. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it because I think there are lessons in there. And hopefully people don't have to be brought to the brink of, you know, my life is on the line and now I'm going to change it. But somebody listening to this can say, like, I'm going to get my affairs in order and I'm going to be prepared, you know, and I'm going to enjoy every day of my life or whatever it is.
Right.
So I'm sure that it'll be, you know, people will be really, I think, impressed with your story.
I hope it helps. I hope it helps somebody else.
I think living in the moment, I can't remember what you said, but it's like, it's the distracted age. I mean, that's just kind of what we grow up to be. It's this distracted age. And it's like, we're in a movie theater. I mean, I'm at Wimbledon and I'm ratifying a deal, multiple offer situation. I'm like, why not put the phone down? Let somebody else on the team handle the deal versus, you know, I'm there with my 10-year-old watching Djokovic and I'm worried about ratifying this deal.
No,
There's more to life.
There is. There is. And your 10-year-old deserves it.
Right. Exactly.
Your 10-year-old deserves it. And one of the things that I think about is, like, in the last 365 days, like, how many days do you remember? Like, how many days do you really, really remember? 20, 30? And I went through this exercise with my team, and I called it, like, how to build a YOLO yearbook life. Like, my wife is great about building yearbooks after trips, and my kids look at it. So if you're to accumulate experiences and memories, and you're only going to get 20 or 30 days that you remember, be dedicated to those days. Like, block them out. Life will be fine. You have to appropriately train your team. You have to build a business that supports your life, doesn't run your life. But for God's sakes, it's Wimbledon, man. It's Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Right? And, like, throw your phone in the Thames River. You know, like, somebody else can do it. And the client's going to get a high level of service. But it's that insecurity that I got to be there. I got to be there. I got to be available.
Well, I'm feeling a little guilty because yesterday I took my daughter to Georgetown to go shopping. And then we were going to go for a celebratory drink at the Four Seasons, and my phone just kept ringing. And when I'm in the car, it's coming out over the speaker, and she's like, "Is this what our whole day is going to be about?" You know, and I remember that as a kid. You know, so you're right. You do need to build those moments and memories and give your family the attention that they deserve.
Let's go a little deeper on the systems that support that. Okay, so it's one thing to philosophically throw it out there like a motivational speaker. It's another thing to have systems built that support it. Number one, my voicemail is supported by UMail, which then rolls into a voice transcription, and my assistant reads all my emails. That's the first thing. So she sees that incessant call, and she calls them and says, "Hey, this is Stacy calling on behalf of David. How may I help you?" And it could be an agent that's at a lockbox. We know that 80% of the time, you don't need to receive that call.
That's so true.
80% of the time, it's transaction work. And I did the same thing when we just went to London and Paris. I had them keep the same chart, and it came back almost exactly 10, 80, 10. So UMail supports the voicemail. Second, and the email is very simple. It's just Gmail, right? The third thing, so you got email, phone, is text. Text is a complete and unmitigated dumpster fire in our business. Everybody just puts you on a leash. Well, I wasn't going to be at Wimbledon and replying to text. That was off the table for me. So what I did was I purchased an iPad, have iMessage, and my assistant sits there with an iPad and reads every single one of my texts. And you need to be in a relationship of high trust. There's not, I don't receive weird things and like whatever. But imagine your life if somebody was your administrative shadow, truly your shadow, and they knew everything that was going on and could be one step ahead of you in making decisions on your behalf and handling it, and then removing it so that when you got back to your hotel, your kid's going down, you're going to check, right? You look, and there's only one or two items for you. How focused would you be?
I mean, it's a game changer.
It's a game changer. It's an absolute game changer. I did buy a separate phone, so I have a separate personal phone number that only my wife and children have the number to. That is my barrier on that. That is my boundary. I will not give it to anybody else. If there's a true emergency, my office can call my wife. I'm not opening up that box. So I am supported on email, text, and phone at all times.
I think the text is a big one. It's hard to keep up with, and it usually is only you. But I think it's smart to have it set up that someone can help you with that.
Well, the client prefers it. And
it's better service.
You need to make the client happy. It's not just for my luxury. It's not just so that I can go to Wimbledon. It's not just so that we can go to Italy. The client in today's economy, it's an on-demand client. They want responses, right? Awesome. I'll give you responses immediately. I might be in a 2.5-hour listing appointment, right? And for me not to get back to them about a simple question, like I'm on the phone with the termite guy, what do we need to do? Stacy can handle it. They just want their problem solved. Problem solved, problem solved, problem solved, problem solved. And, like one of our themes at the office is small fires turn into big fires. So put out small fires fast. Put them out. And that's what a well-trained operations administrative staff does. An extension of me. A true extension of me. And I train them to handle it exactly the way I would handle it.
I think it's excellent. It really is.
Yeah, turn the text over. I have not found a software system that will move text onto an email or anything like that. So unfortunately, you just got to go with iMessage, buy an iPad that sits there with your...
Build it into this new platform.
Yeah, that's a SMS, a different problem.
What happens if it's one of those green messages that comes across?
What do you mean?
Like the Google chat, or it's not an iMessage, it's like one of those green boxes.
It's like
I
Android.
don't even know.
Android, yeah.
But I think you can still see it on the iPad.
Oh, you still see it on the
yeah,
iPad? Yeah. Yes, it's through my...
It's his phone numbers.
It's through my
over.
iCloud account.
Yeah.
So it's not subject to that. There are some nerves that go with doing that, but it's a game changer.
Awesome. David, this has been an amazing power hour here with you, with your history and your systems. Is there anything that we did not discuss that you wanted to bring to our light while we've got a few minutes left here?
No, I'm grateful for being here. Thank you for having me. I'd make myself available if somebody has listened to this show and would like to have a conversation. I love this business, and I think that the opportunity to go deep in client relationships, people are calling you when they need you. Something's occurring in their life, and I hope that agents that are listening could raise their level of empathy for when you receive a call, something's happening in that person's life that is necessitating real estate expertise. First, listen for what's going on. Second, show up like a true professional. And lead generation will become like I'm not really sure what I do. Just kind of like the phone keeps ringing. You do a great job and you're a good person.
Agree.
Awesome. The only thing we have left, and I'll throw it over to Lauren, is the rapid fire 5 questions.
Oh boy.
It's been a pleasure, but I'll turn it over to Lauren for rapid fire.
Okay. So got a couple questions. You ready?
Rapid fire.
What is your hidden talent?
My hidden talent, I'm a good golfer. I went to college on a golf scholarship.
So it's not so hidden. But
Maybe
we'll
it's
go
not
with
so
it.
hidden. Yeah.
You still play?
I think my superpower would be that I'm empathetic, that I really listen to understand why is somebody wanting to sell their house. This is a really tough thing to do. Why are you, what's the reason for selling?
Are you still playing golf?
Irregularly. Once a month.
Finish this sentence.
Okay.
The way to my heart is.
The way to my heart is, God, that's a tough one, Lauren. The way to my heart is spending time together.
If you could live in another city, where would you live? As you've lived in this area, I guess, your whole life. So you've got to pick up, move to another city. Where are you going to go?
Miami.
Oh.
I'd want to be somewhere warm, somewhere with culture, somewhere with water.
You and Brent can go together.
I'm down. Let's do it, dude.
It's hot, though. I mean, it's, we only go during the off season, which is right now.
Yeah.
And we were down there a couple of weeks ago, and it was like 110. We caught Messi's first game where he hit the goal.
Oh, that's
winner.
amazing.
It was amazing.
That's a lot. You'll remember that moment
I'll
forever.
remember that forever. And everyone's like, "Did you get a photo?" I'm like, "I didn't think he was going to make the kick because it was like I don't watch soccer that much, but I'm like, whatever." But totally in the moment with my little guy, had a blast.
Perfect. Would you rather win the lottery or wake up super fit?
Win the lottery.
Because then you could be super fit.
Oh my God, I'd hire a chef. I'd hire a trainer.
Yes.
Yes.
And somebody did win the lottery from Florida last night.
Ooh.
Oh, no way. They won Powerball?
They won the power, or whichever, Mega Millions, like $1.5 billion.
That's cool.
Okay, last question. If you were to devote the rest of your life to philanthropy, what cause would you choose?
Supporting underprivileged children. I think they've just been dealt a real shitty hand. I'd love to see advancement in education, housing, something to do with underprivileged children.
Fantastic.
And that's a great for our last question here. Is there a charity of choice? We always give a shout out or a donation in your honor.
Yeah.
Is there someone that we can reach out to?
My wife and I have decided with our philanthropy, we had this conversation yesterday that we're going to go wide with it and not as deep. We're not going to do large contributions anymore. We're going to do $1,000 to 50 to 100 different charities in our area. It would be difficult for me to say one charity that's doing just exceptionally good work because they're all doing such great work and have huge hearts. Mm-hmm. So I don't mean to dodge it, but that is a hot topic for us right now where we give.
Totally get it.
Yep.
David, thank you so much for being a guest on our show today. It's been a pleasure to know your story and to hear more about it.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate being on here. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Keyed In with your hosts, Max and Brent, unlocking the minds of the industry's top real estate professionals. For more information on selling your home, find us online at keyedinpodcast.com. Remember to subscribe to Keyed In on Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Keyed In Podcast, at Rabin Max, and at Brent E. Jackson. And follow Max on TikTok at MaxwellRabin_properties.